Good day, everyone, and welcome to the day 2 of the International Society for Applied Ethology, Africa and West Asia region. I am Iyasiri Oluwashun-Sira, the Secretary of the region. I am a senior lecturer at the Department of Animal Physiology at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. And currently, I am a George Forster Research Fellow at the Humboldt University in Berlin, Germany. I am delighted to welcome everyone to this first ISA Africa and West Asia regional meeting, which started yesterday. The region was created out of the former Australasia Asia region in the year 2021, and we are just a year old, and that is why we are having our first meeting. And since 2021, when the region was created, there has been a significant increase in membership, and we hope that you will be eager to join the society after this meeting. We have exciting and insightful activities outlined for today. Today we have the virtual farm tour. We have 2 plenary talks, 5 oral presentations, and a networking session, which I think it's very important for every one of us to be able to interact. It's an interactive session where you get to meet other people, ask about their experience, talk about your passion or where you think you need help in case they can assist you. Since we are just developing applied ethology in this region, we felt it would be great to include the networking session. So I want everybody to please be engaged during that period. The ISA has a policy on equity, diversity, and inclusion. So there is no fear of discrimination. I hope you find this meeting worthwhile and your engagement will be highly appreciated. With that, we'll start our meeting today by taking the 3rd plenary talk, which will be the first for today. And that presentation will be given by Dr. Oyebanji Funmilola, and Oyeniran Victor will be the moderator for the session. Please, all your questions for the presenter, kindly drop in the chat box, and the questions will be taken after the presentation. Thank you so much.
Good day, everyone. Hi, I'm Victor Oyeniro. So I'm going to be moderating this section. For the first, this section, it's really an honor for me to actually do this. So Dr. Oyebanji is going to be presenting to us. So why I do a biography. Dr. Funmilola Felicia Oyebanji obtained a 1st and 2nd degree from the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Nigeria, and a PhD from Pan-African University Life and Health Science Institute. She's a specialist in environmental and public health and lecturer in the Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology, FUNAP, where she teaches Introduction to Environmental Sciences, Air and Water Quality Analysis, Occupational Health, Safety and Environment, Waste Management, Environmental Law, Environment and Community Health, Environmental Impact Assessment, and Pollution Studies. Dr. Oyebanji belongs to several professional bodies, both at international and local levels, such as Society for International Federation of Environmental Health, African Academy of Environmental Health, American Society of Microbiology, Society for Applied Microbiology, Nigerian Bioinformatics and Genomics Network, and the Vice President of Environmental Health Scientists Association, Nigeria. She's a licensed environmental health officer. She has 22 journal articles and 3 conference proceedings to accredit. Her research interest is in environment and occupational health, exposure risk assessment, air and water microbiology, antibiotic resistance, and One Health. Dr. Oyebanji has won several fellowship and research grants, such as Lagos State Research Grant, Pan-African University, National Research Fund, and Institution Research-Based, FUNAB. Join me in welcoming Dr. Oyebanji. If you have any questions, you can please drop it in the chat box while Dr. Oyebanji presents a talk on roles of water, sanitation, and hygiene in the achievements of One Health. Over to you, Dr. Oyebanji.
Thank you very much, Victor Oyeniran, for that lovely introduction. Thank you, the organizers of the 4th regional meeting of ISAE Africa and West or Asia and West Africa. I'm Dr. Oyebanji Funmilola Felicia. I work with the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Nigeria, with the Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology. I am a lover of health, environmental health, public health, One Health. Through Dr. Oluwaseun Yasere and Dr. Drew Sharo, I've started enjoying the link between environmental health and animal health and welfare, and they are able to let me see a connection between our different fields that people would think is actually different. They have been able to see a meeting point, and I want to say I love this association. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you so much and well done. I'm going to be talking about the roles of water, sanitation, and hygiene in the achievement of One Health. And going through this slide, I'm going to start with water, sanitation, and hygiene, the meaning and the concept. I'm going to move to One Health, the meaning and the concept. I'm going to link the two together. Then I'm going to give us past literature, what have been recorded that is relating to WASH and One Health, especially in animal enterprises. Then I'm going to bring to the fore a research that was done by myself and some of my students in last year in one of our research camps. Water, sanitation, and hygiene is the meaning of that acronym, WASH. And it actually started around 1990. And this acronym was coined by the Water Supply and Sanitation Collaborative Council during their advocacy and communication, when they were trying to see how to communicate the issue of water, sanitation, and hygiene to people, even in the rural settings. So they came up with something that will be easily identifiable and that will be easy for people to understand. And basically, when you say wash, what we call readily comes to your mind is washing something. And that's why it has been associated with hand washing. You can see the picture of the hand and the washing of hands. Now, it actually started in 1990, and there came an end to Water Supply and Sanitation Collaborative Council in 2020 because it evolved into another name entirely, which is referred to as the Sanitation and Hygiene Fund. It happened in Geneva, 6th of May 2020, and that fund was actually brought to the fore so that they can bring support to the world's poorest and most left behind in achieving the sanitation and hygiene related sustainable development goals. I like to let you know that when you are talking about SDGs, this WASH is closely related to Goal 3 and Goal 6, and that is why they have been able to bring about the link between WASH and sustainable development goals. Now, the components of water, sanitation, and hygiene, they are majorly three. We're talking about the water supply, which is the provision of water. And this kind of provision of water, they expect it to be done as a public utility, and also with the involvement of commercial organizations and different community endeavors, or probably also by individuals, and majorly via system of pumps and pipes. Then sanitation refers to the public health conditions that is related to clean drinking water, treatment and disposal of human excreta, sewage, and every form of waste. So when you sanitize, you know that you are keeping your environment clean. But when you say sanitary, sanitary is the actual word that we use in the field of environmental health. And when you talk about hygiene, you are talking about a series of practices that is performed to preserve health. And according to WHO, hygiene. Hello, can you still hear me? Please let me know if you are hearing me.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So according to WHO, hygiene refers to conditions and practices that help to prevent diseases, promote health, and prolong life. Now, the concept of WASH, as we can see in this picture, when you look at the water, sanitation, and hygiene, using this clockwise picture, you can see a woman. You can see a woman that is pumping water from a hand pump, and you can see a girl that is collecting. You can see a girl that is collecting that clean water from a communal water supply, and you can see a simple washing setup, washing of hands setup, and you can also see a kind of toilet facility that is provided in an elementary school. So it's a chain reaction. If you don't have water, there cannot be sanitation and hygiene. So water in quality and quantity is very, very important when you are talking about sanitation and hygiene, and that is the concept. So now going to the indicators of WASH, just like I've said, is just to elaborate it. It's talking about basic water provision in quality and quantity. Then we talk about the water system functionability. Sometimes you see there is water in a reservoir and it is not being pumped out. Then you talk about sanitation, you talk about hand hygiene, you talk about safe waste management and environmental cleaning services. So if you want to assess the practice, knowledge, attitude, and practice of a group of people to WASH, then these are the basic indicators that will determine if they are following the normal procedure. Now, just like I said, WASH is related to the SDG 3 and SDG 6. SDG 3 is talking about good health and well-being, and we have so many targets that are under it. Majorly, they are talking about preventing diseases, promoting health, and prolonging lives. And the other one is talking about clean water and sanitation. So the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals, they are hinged on the practices of water, sanitation, and hygiene. Now let's move to the next concept, which is One Health. One Health has various definitions depending on who is defining. Now, One Health Commission, they defined One Health as an integrated and a unifying approach which aims to sustainably balance and optimize the health of people, animals, and ecosystems. This definition recognizes the health of humans, domestic and wild animals, plants, and the wider environment, that is the ecosystem, which is the functional interplay between the living things and the non-living things in a community, in the environment. They are closely related and they are interdependent. Now, this approach mobilizes multiple sectors, disciplines, and communities at various levels of society, and it helps them to work together to foster the well-being and tackle threats to health and the ecosystem. Now, according to the Center for Disease Control, they also have another definition. They also refer to One Health as an approach that recognizes that the health of people is closely connected to the health of animals and our shared environment. I hope you know that as we are entitled to the environment, the animals are also entitled to the environment. So the One Health concept is not new, but now it has become more important in recent years, because initially when you talk about public health, the major importance, people put the majority of the importance on human health, not knowing that human cannot be healthy when the animals around are not healthy. Human and animal cannot be healthy when the plants around are not healthy. So they are interdependent, they are interrelated, they are interconnected. So human population are growing, and then we are now moving our habitat close to even animals in the wild. And now, just like Dr. Bukola Oyebanji presented yesterday, she was talking about people just going into animal rearing without following any process. People just think, oh, I want to rear animals, I want to have a plan B or plan C, plan D, and they start rearing animals without looking at environmental factors, without looking at the health, the welfare, and all other components that will give us the achievement of One Health. So, evolution of One Health. I said earlier that One Health started way back, but it has now gained a lot of recognition. Now, I'm going to be picking each of the aspects of WASH, and I'm going to be talking about them, then talking about what has been said in literature about the One Health, the WASH practices. And water provision in animal enterprise. Like I said earlier, there is need for water availability. And when you are talking about water availability, you are talking about the quantity of water. Adequate water supply is very, very essential for healthy animals to meet their nutritional needs. And why is water required? To regulate their body temperature, to aid their growth. It assists them in their reproduction, even lactation. You will agree with me that the milk that is coming is quite a large percentage of water. Then to aid digestion, metabolism, excretion, then absorption of nutrients in their body system, and transportation of that nutrient, and even transportation of the waste materials to the appropriate sources. They also lubricate their joints, and they have many other functions. Now, from literature, I was able to get some water quantity requirements for different livestock. And as we can see, although camels, they can stay between 5 to 8 days, as much as they can drink. They can also drink up to 100 liters or 1/3 of their body weight, depending on their body weight. But however, whenever they attempt to drink water at a time, they will need about 15 to 30 liters of water. We can see pigs, we can see sheep and goats, dairy cattle, horses, donkeys. I was not able to get that of poultry. So the daily water requirements and intake by livestock, they vary considerably according to the class of stock, the production status. Is it lactating? Is it pregnant? The age, the condition, is it healthy or is it an unhealthy animal? Then their dry matter intake, that's the kind of food they are eating, the quality of even that breed, and the nature of the feed, the climatic condition, maybe it is hot weather or cold weather, and the quality of the water. So even sometimes, even if they want to drink water and the quality is poor, it will affect the rate at which they drink water. Now, going to water quality, there are some issues of concern when we talk about water quality. And when we are talking about water quality, we should know that we should consider, when we want to feed animals, the concentration of minerals or salt, the concentration of nitrogen in that water. Is it contaminated with fertilizers or other chemicals? Then we should also look at the bacterial contamination or algal growth in the water. Now, I was also able to get some recommendations, like the total dissolved solid in water. According to Parish 2020, is saying that the total dissolved solid should be between 0 to 1 milligram per liter. So any deviation from that, maybe greater than 3 milligram per liter, is bad. Animals should not be allowed to drink such water. But mind you, how many people go to the extent of checking the quality of the water that animals are being fed with? Now, looking at even dissolved salt, depending on some factors like the species, age, water requirement, season, and physiological status, the concentration of salt in it differs. Then looking at soluble salt, 5 to 7 milligram per liter. Water containing high levels of TDS, such as salt, can lower beef cattle feed intake. So it can reduce their feed intake. So the tolerance of animals, they actually depend on some factors that should be adequately considered when we are talking about water. Now, the next thing in WASH is okay. I have a table. This is according to Yildri 2020. He did a study in Ankara. he was able to compare normal values with the, and he was able to show to us some of the water that deviated from the of element that should be dissolved in the water that will be given to animals. Next slide, please. Okay, so I stumbled on this I was actually going somewhere and I saw this feeding bucket of water for poultry, and I saw inside it a dead lizard. I quickly took a snapshot. Can you imagine, before the owner of these animals will know that the birds are already drinking water that is polluted with a dead lizard? We can only imagine what contamination it would have caused into the water. Then we can see how dirty the plastic is, biofilms of different particles that have settled. So if one would want to imagine and collect the sample of this water to do a microbiological test, then you see that even if we don't have loss in the beds, we know that they will be feeling some distress. Not all diseases that come to you, even as humans, will kill you, but you know that you feel distressed, your health is impaired, your welfare is impaired. So I just said, oh, when I'm talking about water, it would be nice to show something like this. So these are the things we are talking about, a dead lizard in the drinking water of some poultry animals. So the next thing is sanitation. And when we are talking about sanitation, the major thing is talking about their housing. So good housing is an integral part of human and animal welfare. Scientifically, housing of animals is essential for obtaining maximum benefits from livestock in respect of their productivity and services to mankind. So housing is very important in all modern animal welfare programs. So a clean shelter also adds to the benefits of increasing the comfort level of animal and presenting positive impact on the health of the animal. So there are some general precautions that should be maintained in their housing. We know that the food will be provided in the housing compartment. So it is expected that clean food and water should be provided. Water should be put in the drinking bowls, just like I showed. So the food or the feed will be put in the air racks so high up that dunks will not be able to mix with it. Then urine will not be able to mix with it. And even the feces, the dung should be removed at least once in a day, at least once in a day. Then the stocking capacity, the overcrowding of animals should be avoided. And when animal is dead, the carcass should be buried sanitarily. We should also ensure adequate ventilation, and we should be mindful when there is any outbreak of disease. Unhealthy animals should be kept away from healthy animals. A clean shelter also will add benefits of increasing the proper hygienic condition, because it's going to avoid bacteria, viral, parasitic infection, and any other related issues. Now, animal house location. The location of farmstead or animal houses is selected, giving due consideration to the supply of potable water and adequate sun exposure and efficient drainage. In addition, adequate provision of sanitary conveniences for animal handlers and farm workers with adequate water provision for their own sanitary conveniences. Now, I saw the work of Ayodeji et al. In 2011, where he looked at how the waste collected from animal houses are being managed. And we can see that the highest of it, he said about 37% of the farmers, they dump their waste in bushes and on farmlands. And most of these animals, sometimes they allow them to graze. So if animal dung has been poured or dumped on the farmland and animals are also allowed to go and feed, then it means that whatever has come out of them can also be re-ingested by them. So sometimes that increase the rate at which they fall ill. Now, if we also look at a similar study, the first one of Ayodeji was in Ogun State, and while in 2016, Abiola and Olaogun also did a study in Oyo State, and we can also see a similar situation, open dumping, and that has the highest percentage. Some of them also, they practice combination of 2 or more of those activities. Next slide, please. Now, I was going somewhere around Lagos. Kara, this is Kara Market. It's in between Lagos State and Ogun State in Nigeria, southwest Nigeria. We can see the condition of this housing of this cow, although this is a market where they sell cattle, but however, prior to being sold, we can see the condition of the environment. Waste are being dumped around them, so we can imagine what the animals are going through. You know how this will attract flies to the cattle. We can, next slide, please. Yeah, I have 4 more of the pictures. We see stagnant water. As an environmentalist, I know that stagnant water will breed mosquito. We can see the condition that it is insanitary, and this is where the animals are. You can see their feeding trough inside the sludge, inside the mud, and the animals are there feeding. I took a video of this because I wasn't actually allowed. I had to take it while I was in the vehicle. You know, they didn't allow me to get a good grasp, but I got something. So we can see this is absolutely wrong. This is poor sanitation, because the animals cannot complain, and because they are not dead, they believe that, oh, they are awaiting sale, so they should be treated anyhow. And this is a poor sanitary, this is insanitary condition. Next slide, please. So now the third component of WASH is the hygiene. Now, when we are talking about the hygiene, we are talking about, so these are some of the components because they are inexhaustive. When you just look at the concept, you can imagine other things. And this is hand washing. The first one is hand washing, with or without soap, and the frequency. Now, some people have actually imbibed the culture of hand washing since the emergence of coronavirus in the late 2019. But however, we just wash hands. Do we wash with soap? Do we look at the components of the soap we use to wash our hands? And what is the frequency of washing our hands? Do we use protective clothing when you are in your place of work, when you know that you will be exposed? When you are handling animal, in fact, many times I'm sorry to say, I don't know another word to use, but I want to say we are selfish. What we always think about is the diseases that will come from animal to human. We often don't consider diseases that we might even give to the animals. Just like I said, because an animal is not sleeping, is not behaving sickly, does not mean he is not experiencing the symptoms of being ill. And you know that symptoms is worse than signs. As a public health expert, I know that signs are things that you can see. Obviously, you can see the eyes are swollen, the water, the eyes are watery, the nose is watery. You can see that. But before the secretion of those watery discharge from the eyes, before the eyes will become bulgy, do you know the processes that would have come around in the body system of the animal before having the signs? So symptoms is worse. Unfortunately, they cannot express this except you see the signs in them and they become sluggish and they are not excited, they are not playful. That is use of protective clothing. Then training. How many people go through training to improve their knowledge, to improve their attitude, and to improve their practices in handling animal? When you talk about One Health, the major enterprise where One Health is being practiced is in animal enterprise. So achieving One Health will be mostly done if we can begin to inculcate the wash into all our practices. Now, these are graphs by Odo et al. In 2015. He examined the rate of hand washing. He also examined the use of protective clothing. And we can see that never is the highest when we look at the use of footwear. The first one is showing the use of footwear. The Thailand poultry study, they said they never used it. While the Minnesota swine study said they always use it. We can also see use of mask. The Thailand, they are saying never. So can we say it is region specific? Maybe the people in Thailand, they don't believe in the use of, according to this study. However, if we look at hand washing, it is better. In hand washing is better, and we can see that they wash hand frequently. Then use of gloves. Now I'm going to be talking about the study I did with some of my students. It has been submitted. Poor hygiene and environmental sanitation encourage the spread of Klebsiella species and aggravate its antibiotic resistance menace. So in this study, we used the 3 approaches. We interviewed the farm workers who consented to join the study. Only 9 of them, because we used a research farm, the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. We also used walk-through observation, because we know that the responses of the respondents might be subjective, and we wanted an objective view of what is actually going on. Then we also collected samples, 30 nasal lavage and skin samples, 10 each for cattle, goats, and sheep. That CN shows cattle nose, cattle nasal, goat nasal, sheep nasal. We are collected from sheep skin too. Then we also collected from the handlers. We did a skin swap. To see if we get the same organism. Then we also did environmental survey of those bacterial components that we monitor. So we use the moistened swab sticks. It has been moistened with sterile water. We use it to swab the nasal cavity of the animals, and we also use it to swab the skin of the animals and the ants of the handlers. And we use 2 nutrient media. We use the nutrient agar and the McConkey agar for total aerobic and coliform counts, and it was incubated between 18 to 24 hours. Now, this is the result of the interview and the observation. Now, when we asked them that washing of hands, excuse me, I'm not seeing the slide well, so I'm using my laptop to go. Okay. So when we talked about washing of hands before the day's work, many of them said yes, but from our observation, we are comparing the interview and the observation. From our observation, we realized that most of them, as they were coming, they just dropped their bags and they went to begin to do their daily work. So this is unfair, because whatever it is that you are coming with that is already on your hands, you transfer it to the animals. So they said 77.78% of them said they wash their hands before their day's work, while only 2% said they do not. But our observation, we saw that they don't wash their hands before starting their day's work. Then we also asked if they do hand washing between activities during the day, and all of them said they don't do that. They don't do it. And we also saw that they don't do it. Then after the day's work, well, 100% of them said they wash their hands after the day's work. Although we were not able to see 100% of them doing that, but we were able to see some of them. You know, we were not actually there to see when all of them will close for the day. Now, what is the source of the water for hand washing? I would like to tell you that, you know, if you want to wash your hands and the water you are using is already polluted, then as you are trying to remove some dirt, physical, chemical, or even microbial from the palm of your hands, you might be introducing others. So some of they don't have Veronica bucket. That's the bucket with the tap. They don't have tap, although they have, but as at the time of visit, water was not running. So the water was fetched from the well inside the bucket. And some of them said they use spent water, that is water that has been used maybe manually for some work. Maybe it's not all that dirty. They use it to wash their hands. So you can imagine what that means. So, but we also saw that they were fetching water from the well to wash their hands. And if there is no tap, it means that they will be dipping the dirty hand into the water to scoop some water to wash their hands. So they will also introduce that water. I imagine that is the same water from where they will get for the animals. Although this study did not consider looking at the quality of the water that the animals are being fed with. Now, do they use soap? Only 1% of them said never. And some 11.11% said yes, they use soap. And while 55% said they always use soap. But from our observation, we saw that they don't use soap. We didn't see any one of them using soap. Now, we asked them what they perceive to be the major source of hand contamination. And 33.33% of them said they think it's from the environment, touching of this or that. But quite the majority of them said they believe that their hands are being contaminated by animals. Although we were not able to ask the animals if animals believe that these handlers are also contaminating them. Maybe Dr. Mrs. Yasiri and Dr. Drosha will help us to see how we can sample that from the animals, since they deal with animal behavior. Okay, that's on a lighter mood. Then, did they receive any job training on animal handling? Well, they said yes. Majority of them said yes. 22.22% said no. Now, what's the frequency of medical checkup? They said they don't do checkup. Some of them said it's only when they are sick. In fact, majority of them said it's only when they are sick. Next slide, please. Now, this is the culturable bacteria population chart showing the nutrients agar and the McConkey agar plate count. Now, the nutrients agar will just extract all the microorganisms, while the McConkey agar will extract the selective microorganisms. Now, if we look at this chart, we'll see that the highest, the sample that had the highest number of colony counts is cattle Nassau. Now, you will be able to relate this with the picture I showed earlier. Definitely, although I wasn't allowed to take pictures of the houses of those animals in the research farm that I used, but from our observation, the goats and the sheep, they were kept in houses that they have planks, wooden structure. So they are standing on the wooden structure. And you know, when they feed, they have feeding trough and they go out to feed, although the cattle also go out to feed. But the environment of the cattle, when they put their nose down, I don't know what the name of that process is called. When they put their nose down, maybe they sniff the ground or something. I imagine that is where they pick up some of these bacteria. And the sheep has the largest microorganism count when we look at the McConkey agar plate. Now, let me quickly run along. Now, we now looked at the antibiotic resistance. Next slide. Antibiotic resistance of these, the selected Klebsiella pneumoniae. Pardon me. So we confirmed that out of all the microorganisms that we worked on, we saw that, excuse me, we saw a total of 181 colony counts of bacteria, total bacteria, and we saw a total of 132 in the McConkey agar plates. And then from the McConkey agar plates, we saw different organisms. We saw the Salmonella, Klebsiella, Proteus, we saw the Escherichia, we saw Shigella, and we saw Pseudomonas. But our focus was on Klebsiella. And why we focused on Klebsiella is that because it's also a zoonotic pathogen found in the digestive and urinary respiratory tract of mostly ruminant animals. And the pathogen is of one health importance because it can also be found in other various places, including the air, food, the water, sewage, soil, plants, different surfaces. And it belongs to a group of bacteria that have been, they have called it SKP, that is the Enterococcus, the Staphylococcus, Klebsiella, Actinobacter, Pseudomonas, Enterobacter species, according to Rice 2010. So also isolates of Klebsiella, they have been identified to display drug-resistant traits. That is, it is difficult to choose sensitive antibiotics to treat it. Now, if we look at our table here, we'll see that majority of the confirmed Klebsiella, they have multi-drug resistance. That's the meaning of the MDR. These are the common. If you look at cephalosporin, aminoglycoside, penicillin, nitrofuran, fluoroquinolines, these are the major components of the antibiotics that are often used in Nigeria. If we look at it, the isolates gotten from the sheep nasa, they have multi-drug resistance traits. If we also go down, we have the one from sheepskin, also multi-resistance, and that is where you see the yes, 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 no. But we were also able to see from the cattle handlers, two of the cattle handlers had the Klebsiella, confirmed Klebsiella isolates, and they are also drug resistant. So it means that when they fall ill, they will have to use different kinds of antibiotics before they can get healed. Now, the implications of poor wash, based on our studies, is that it will affect widespread air, water, and land pollution. It will impair handlers' health. It will give rise to poor animal health and welfare and increase the menace of antibiotic resistance. So it means that if we can be able to inculcate wash, they will be able to prevent air, water, and land pollution and prevent all these other. So in conclusion, the inclusiveness of wash practices in animal enterprise will improve animal welfare and bring about achievement of One Health. These are some of my selected references. Thank you so much for listening.
This is really insightful and a lot of things to learn from the wash, the implication on the health of the animal handler and also on the animals themselves. Like you said, I agree with what you said earlier, that most times we often think of what kind of disease are being transferred from the animals to the handlers. We neglect the aspect that the handlers too can also transfer some form of infection to the animal. So I hand over to the moderator to continue with the questions here. Victor?
Thank you so much, Dr. Oyebanji. Indeed, water is an essential part of our life, which directly affects both man and also animals. So we have some questions already in the chat box. I'm going to be reading them out for us. I have a question which says, in what way can the government come in as to make the WASH concept more effective?
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Bukola Oyebanji talked about policy inclusion yesterday. So in the first instance, just like I saw the poor WASH practices in that Kara market, I don't have the legal jurisdiction to go and correct them, to say anything. So I think if there are policies that are enacted and people are put in charge of enforcement, I believe that government can be able to assist. That is one. Two, provision of water is a social amenity and is a role of the government. Unfortunately, what we are seeing now is that most of the social amenities are being provided by the people, individuals or communities. So if government can also work on adequate water provision in quantity and quality, then getting to the maximum of the optimal sanitation and hygiene level might also be a lot easier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's a question that comes in related to that, and you've gladly answered that. Is asking about government's intervention in environmental sanitation in order to enrich human and animal health. And I think you also gladly answered that in just your question now. Now, Dr. Alabi is asking that some years back, he grew up knowing some of the township water supply as a source of potable water for drinking and other domestic use. This facility tends to be moribund in several states in southwest Nigeria. As water and environmental experts, what do you think could possibly be done to bring back this township water supply?
Okay, thank you very much, Victor. You know, political will is one thing, then acceptability is another thing. From my various studies, I've seen that community involvement will help to improve water supply system. Now, most times politicians will come, they want to provide water, they just come, you just sleep and wake up and you see a borehole drilled beside or behind your house, and you see tank put, scaffold and everything. And people will just misuse it, and in the next 1, 2, 3 weeks, it will get spoiled. Why? From my community involvement activities, I've seen that when you do things for people and you don't do it with them, that is what you get. You might not actually ask them to contribute, but before you can cite such community water supply system, you need to carry them along. You need to have a town hall meeting. In fact, maybe probably where you are putting it is not somewhere that is central for them to be getting the water. And some of them, the youth just get angry and go and vandalize it. So sometimes you need to carry them along. Well, another thing is when we have adequate water provision supply from the government, bringing water into every individual's household. Recently, I saw that Ogun State government in Nigeria, in southwest Nigeria, they started digging and putting pipes. And I asked, they said is water kiosking, that Ogun State government want to have water kiosking. So probably you'll be paying. So most times people pay and yet they don't see the facility. So governments need to have the political will and determination to make it work. And when they are doing it, they should do it in conjunction with the community people. I hope I'm able to answer that question.
Very well, Ma. Thank you so much. Now I have another question that says, thank you for your presentation. It wants to know if water quality tests are affordable And are there enough laboratories for the test in Nigeria? Now, I was also going to ask something similar to that, do we have some kits to test for water quality in our farms also?
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think this issue of affordability came up also yesterday. And we know that we have money, we are rich, but we are not channeling that wealth into research. Now, that's on a side. Well, we have many laboratories that can handle water quality tests. We have kits that can do in situ analysis, especially the physical and few chemical ones. Like you have a portable machine that can do pH, electrical conductivity, that can do the temperature, that can do the total dissolved solids at a go. And you just press the button, you dip the probe into the water, and it will give you the result. However, doing a substantial water quality testing is financially cumbersome. Okay, some of my students actually want to work on water quality in cholera endemic areas of Ogun State. And unfortunately, we do not have adequate facilities within my university. So we had to contact a lab in Ibadan. And by the time they did a calculation of how much each student would spend on just those chemical parameters, especially the metal components, it was running to around 100,000 naira.
Thank you so much for that great answer. Loads of questions running in. So I have another one that is asking, can you please talk more about total dissolved solid in water given to livestock species?
Different solids can dissolve in water. Now, just like I said, we have a TDS meter. In fact, it's a multifunctional meter. It's a multifunctional meter, and the particles can be chemical, physical, it can be microbial, but the ones that will dissolve in it, they are the ones that we refer to as total dissolved solids. It could be also salt, it could be waste material, and this will affect the pH of the water. So, and you know, if some solids are dissolved, then it can turn the water to acidic or alkaline in nature, and that will affect the animal. I don't know if I've answered that question. There are requirements, there are standards for different kinds of animal, just like I showed on that table, the ones I was able to get. But I know that there will be others that maybe would treat different, maybe for poultry, or for maybe chicken, for turkey, but I've not seen any of such research in this side of the world.
Thank you so much for that great answer. I have a question here again from Dr. Hayola. She wants to understand more, how can we link the concept of One Health in animal production?
The concept of One Health in animal production, One Health involves human health, animal health, environmental health. Now, what we look at is animal handlers, are they healthy? Are they introducing diseases? Are they carrying out activities that might impair the health of animals? The way the animals are being managed, are they in one way or the other going to affect the health of human? Then looking at all other activities, is it affecting the environment, or the environment is affecting either the animal and or the human? That is the concept. It's a cycle that you look at the health of human, you link it with the health of animal, you link it with the health of the environment. The food you are feeding the animal with, the water they are drinking, the feces they are passing, how is it being managed? how is human managing themselves not to infect animals, how are animals being managed not to infect human. I think maybe recently, 2 months ago, maybe veterinary medicine or dog something, they did a program. They said 1 health, 0 death. So if we have 1 health, then there'll be 0 death for both animal and for both humans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Dr. Joshua wants to know, in terms of soaps used in washing our hands, can we check the components of these soaps?
Yes, thank you very much. Like we know, we have antiseptic soap, we have medicated soap, and we have a toilet soap. So it depends on if you know what are the possible contaminants in your place of work or where you are, maybe in your home, that you need to wash hand, then you'll be able to know if you are going to use antiseptic, or you are going to use medicated, or you are going to use toilet soap. So yes, one of our students in environmental management and toxicology, a master's student, recently worked on components of soap, and I am still waiting to listen to the report of his project. He has gone on field work. He will come back for his data defense. So yes, we can check the components of soap, and in choosing our soap, if we look at what actually we want to wash off our hands or want to clean in animal houses, or maybe you want to bathe for your dog, or you want to bathe for your domestic animals, then you know, you will selectively get a soap that will be adequate and appropriate for the purpose to which you want to put it.
Thank you very much for that answer. Dr. Ojulade is asking, very insightful presentation. Now, from an environmental sanitation perspective, how do you think we can stop the poor welfare of most of the cattle and animals being subjected to?
Well, I think I've answered a similar question. As an individual animal handler, the most important thing is having a clean and good housing system for the animals. When they pass their dung, their feces, they are packed at least once in a day. The water is provided in clean troughs. The food is provided in clean containers. They are allowed not to just graze anyhow. Majorly, if we look at their environment, we can make the environment clean, have adequate cross ventilation, especially during harsh weather. I think we'll be able to achieve good environmental sanitation. Then we should also note that the picture that I showed, we see that where the cattle are kept, the place does not have a good drainage topography. Even not just dislodging it, but if the topography is good, maybe having a slopy area, because that place is very close to the Ogun River in southwest Nigeria. So we know that if it is slopy enough, then the stagnant water would have flowed on its accord into that river. Then the area will be dry for the animals to stay. So if we look at some of the requirements that I've stated earlier, we'll be able to achieve a good housing condition and environmental sanitation for animals.
Thank you very much for that great answer. Just you answered something similar about soap components. So I'm just saying this now, which it's saying, can the use of hand sanitizer be a suitable replacement for hand washing while handling animals?
Well, hand sanitizer, they also have different types of hand sanitizer. And I know that sometimes say alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Well, caution should be should be exercised in using it. In as much as we want to sanitize our hands, we should know that if such will get to sensitive places, parts of the animal body, it can cause itching, just like it should not touch your eyes and things like that. We cannot totally replace hand washing with soap with hand sanitizer. We cannot totally replace. The procedure is that you should wash your hands, dry it, not even with clothes. You should use hand dryer, hot air hand dryer, then you put hand sanitizer. That's the normal procedure, but we know that we have improvised a lot of things. But I would not advise that we should outrightly use hand sanitizer to replace. And if ever we want to use hand sanitizer, we should exercise caution so that we will not touch the animals in sensitive places that can cause welfare challenge, discomfort to them.
Thank you so much for that great answer.